back again. I won't be making so many videos for a while because we've been inundated with rain here for 6 months, and now it's spring officially tomorrow, and it's going to change. I reckon it's almost on time, and so I've got to get into the mowing. It's getting really. See, the reason why I've got grass growing inside here is because we get floods out here, and that actually stops the water getting up to here. So, and if I pull the grass out, then it can flood. So, anyway, that's off topic. Yeah, poor old Michael, 45 RPM. That was a great video this morning in Australia to watch, and yeah, it just brings to mind. I was so fortunate to grow up when I did, and didn't have to go through this Discogs and eBay shit. And it reminded me of a story where, well, Michael said something about he got a Dimension machine Kraftwerk, which is apparently a bootleg, but I had an original I bought in Dusseldorf in 1978 and gave it to this nice couple, friends of my girlfriend. They let us stay there for a couple of days while we were waiting to catch the train down to Greece, and they had a son, probably about 13, a nice kid, really nice kid. And I bought a Dimension machine for myself, the man machine, and he's such a nice kid, and they were so kind to us. I gave it to him. And, but that's somewhere in Dusseldorf. If you see this, Michael, there could be a guy who would be now about your age or a little bit younger that might have a mint Dimension machine. Who knows? Anyway, now it's easily to get fooled. So a lot of these people, I don't buy on Discogs for a reason. I can't afford it, number one, and the postage is just horrific. 10 years ago it was okay, but not anymore. But see, a lot of these people that are flipping records didn't grow up with records. They just jumped onto this bandwagon in the last 10 years, and they buy everything left, right and centre. They go around to car boot sales or whatever they do, and they'll buy up job lots from deceased estates, so on and so forth. And they don't play them or anything. They just have a quick look, VG. Now, I don't sell, and if I ever did, I would play the record and grade it accordingly, and I would always grade one bit lower. So if it came across as a near mint, I would grade it as an excellent, so on and so forth. I would never attempt to sell anything less than VG double plus. Wouldn't even attempt it, because if I got something like that myself, I would be so pissed off. So I understand your anger, Michael. So these people, in the good old days, you go into auctions and bid, but the people that did these auctions, they happened once every 6 months or something, and you had to send off your bids in an envelope in the mail and wait to find out whether you'd won anything. It was much more exciting, and I scored some really good stuff 10 years ago. And they were decent prizes, and the people that did these sort of auctions were decent people. But it's all changed. There's too many amateurs now in the game. Oh, I wouldn't even do it. And there's no guarantee an original's going to be any good. I mean, they could have bought that, played it once with a blunt stylus, and it sounds like shit. Even that's no guarantee. It's a dodgy game. It was okay when you could pick them up for $10 20, 30 years ago, or $5 or whatever. That's when I scored a lot of good shit. I sold off a lot of stuff in the 90s not because I wanted to, but because I had a shocking gambling problem and I sold off half my record collection. I didn't want to do it, but I had to. I beat the addiction to the gambling 20 years ago, but that's about the time vinyl started to resurge. And then the first few years, you could still buy things for the prices went up a little bit, in the early 2000s. You could, I got a lot of stuff from someone must have come out from the UK and someone bought their whole collection and it ended up in this little shop in North Sydney. And he was charging a fair bit for them at the time, like $10 20 years ago. This is like at the height of CD mania. But see, that's still a good deal because CDs in Australia were like $30 each. It was an absolute rip-off. But they were convenient. I could play them in my Discman going to work. I could play them at work in my little portable CD player. I could, it was just practical. But no, it was a rip-off. So I still kept buying vinyl if they were in beautiful condition and the price wasn't too high. I got some good stuff and I still got them. Anyway, the other thing I had to mention was back in the days before all this nonsense, my favourite single of 1964 was The Zombies, She's Not There. And I never actually bought it at the time because, I just couldn't afford to buy more than 145 a week or a fortnight. So it just didn't happen. And in those days, once they fell off the chart, they just sort of deleted them. And this is in the days long before KTEL compilations or any of this. So if a record disappeared off the charts, you could go for years and years and years back in the 60s and early 70s, not being able to get it anywhere in any form, shape or form. And I was so excited one day. I can't remember where I got it, but I got it cheap, and I've pulled it out, and it was mint. It was literally mint. The paper sleeve, everything was perfect. And I just went, I don't believe it. Allergies, spring. And I went, I've finally got She's Not There, and it's mint. Oh my God, I was so happy. I took it home. Can't remember when it was. Could have been the late 60s, maybe. Put it on, and it just sounded awful. It was, it was like I was going through gravel. And I pulled it off, and what's wrong with it? It's perfect. And then when I held it up to the light, I went, oh, you could see it was a mispressing. What had happened was in the pressing factory, they obviously haven't applied enough pressure or whatever it is that makes the groove the right depth and all that bizzo. You could see that by looking at it flat, it looked perfect. But when you held it in the sun, you could see that the grooves, it hadn't stamped right into the vinyl. So basically, it sounded awful. It sounded terrible because it just hadn't cut deep enough. So that was one of the happiest days of my life. Some people are easily pleased. I am. Happiest days of my life turned in one of the saddest because I went from being elated to running home and whacking it on and going, oh, fuck. I kept it for years just to look at it. Put it in amongst all my other Deckers 45s, and I'd look at it and go, oh, no, I can't play it. And it took years and years and years, and that's one thing I won't knock CDs for. I actually got a really good Zombies compilation in the early 90s before they did the compression bullshit, and it sounds fantastic. Honestly, it sounds better than the 45s ever did, really. So I won't knock CDs. But I'm just saying, it's a dangerous game you're playing, Michael, or anyone else out there that thinks that by getting an OG from the country of where it was pressed and all that, there's no guarantees ever. So anyway, another quick one that turned into a long one. Bye now.